Hello and welcome everyone to today's Association for Manufacturing Excellence webinar titled Managing a Lean, Efficient Supply Chain. I am Jerry Strohmeyer, the Education and Training Program Coordinator for AME, and I will be your moderator. Today's presenter is Doug Carlberg, the Chairman and CEO of M2 Global Manufacturing. Doug has over 30 years of experience in operations management in electronics, telecommunications, and defense industries. His areas of expertise include directing lean manufacturing aspects of product development, production, supply chain management, sales, and service. Doug and his organization are the recipient of numerous awards for excellence in manufacturing, including Doug for the Mac McCullough Lifetime Achievement Award and M2 Global for the AME Excellence Award. Doug currently serves on the AME board for the Southwest region and on the AME Awards Council. Before we start, just a couple of housekeeping items. You will be in listen-only mode throughout the webinar. You will see that you are muted on your attendee panel on the right side of your screen. If you have questions during the webinar, please type them into your question area in the attendee panel and click on Submit. We'll review the questions at the end of today's presentation and answer as many as we can. When you log off today, please check your email inbox, and it will be an invitation and link to fill out a short webinar attendee survey. Please take a few minutes to complete the survey today, as your feedback is very important to us to improve future webinars. Doug has also graciously agreed to provide a PDF of today's presentation. We'll be sending that along with a recorded link for a webinar replay to each of you next week. Now, I am pleased to introduce Doug Carlberg, who will present Managing a Lean, Efficient Supply Chain. Take it away, Doug.
Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for calling in. I really appreciate this. What I'm going to present today is really kind of a snippet of a course that John Puckett and I put together that we actually teach numerous times around the country over the year. We've got the next one coming up, and I'll talk more about it at the end, up in San Antonio, Texas here, coming up in July. This course is also taught part of the University of Dayton Continuous Lean Program series that they have at the University of Dayton. So with that, I'll get going on the presentation today. Okay, today's operational reality is pretty simple. The impact of long, deep recession is being felt, and I've really felt it being a defense contractor here for the last 5 or 6 years. And what's critical is that we had to focus on productivity, cost reduction, or the order of the day for many of us. Increased focus on operational excellence, quality, and performance was key to continue to grow the business in that really tight defense market. Growing interest in lean as a strategy to achieve operational financial goals is something we realized early on that we needed to really do if we were going to survive in this economy. Organizations are focused on doing more with less. And I go back and take a look at where we were up to 9/11, and I'm doing a lot more with a lot less people because where we have implemented the lean production model in our facility. The objective of the course that we'll be teaching coming up here in July is really 5 areas. What I'm going to do is focus on a couple of those today and give you a snippet of what we're going to cover in more detail in the course. But what we start off is providing a definition of what supply chain management is. We highlight forms of waste within the supply chain, and I'll spend more time on that today. We explain the lean toolbox and methods for waste reduction, and I've got one chart that will talk about all the tools that you could apply in your lean, not only in the factory but also in the office area. We'll describe simple graphical process for prioritizing improvements and identifying corrective actions. And we'll leave you with takeaways, we hope, and action items that you will start to down your path for a greater operational efficiency within your operation. Today's focus is obviously creating supply chain and how we don't want to break that link. It's an important thing from the supply chain through production up to the customer. What can I do to help? The role of purchasing and supply chain management in global operations, and it's changed dramatically over the years. It's getting more critical, And it's for your success on your lean journey, you've got to integrate lean within the office space or you're just not going to get there. What we did is we did learning from the best. We looked at Toyota, Johnson Control, Delphi, Hahn, Autoleaf, and actually looked at the AME Excellence Award program and also the Shingo Prize program. And all these had excellent approaches on how you could apply the Toyota manufacturing in multiple model factories. The other method is well documented. If you go for the Lean certification program that is currently being offered by AME, SME, and Shingo, it requires a lot of book learning as you kind of go along. And some of it started off with James Wormack on lean thinking early on, and the goal, and John Shook on learning to see and value stream mapping. All these things are critical that you kind of go back and do a little bit of your homework as you start that lean journey. What we have done here at M2 Global, we have created a library that people can check these books out as they start integrating into our culture. Historic motto of creating a lean supply chain. You really have to start off with the environment and the system design, and you need to figure out what tools and methods you want to apply that make sense in your business. You also need to create a need for culture, a vision, communication, and creating a trust within your team. You need to also create a system of thinking, lean time reduction, and shorter response times. You can go back and take a look at what's critical is one-piece flow, zero inventory, zero defects, and build to order. And the tools are many. Lean scheduling, Kanban, Andon's visual management, employee involvement, Six Sigma standard work, value stream mapping, delay configuration, 5 Whys, vendor managed inventory, 5 S's, Pokioke, Workcell, and supermarkets. These are all tools that any of these could be applied in any supply chain system as you go through. But here again, this is one size fits all. It's a really great little model going forward, and it kind of gives you an oversight. And these are the things, if you were applying for the AME Excellence Award, are all in the criteria. And if you haven't had a chance to download the AME Excellence criteria to help establish a model within your business, you really should do that. And it's available on ame.org, and just get up online and load it down. And if you'd like to talk to more people about what the award's all about and what I need to do to apply for that thing, you can contact Jerry at the office, or Jerry will actually connect you with somebody else on the leadership team on the awards process, and we'll be glad to talk to you about it in more detail. The tools are well documented. The Toyota production system, sometimes it's required to the health of lean. And really what it is the best operational excellence is best cost, quality, delivery, empowered employees, and customer-focused culture. So how do you do it just in time, Kajunka, and other things that you need to do? This is how lean can be applied in your business. You just need to figure out what tools need to apply and go forward, and set the priority going forward. The lean enterprise is market-driven and a supply chain. This introduces the internal concept of supply chain and how it's connected from all the different functions within the organization. And the thing to remember, and one of the things that we did here, is we actually created this as an exercise as we started going through the different departments. And we asked the people or the departments or the teams in the groups to define who their customers are and who their suppliers are, internal and external. And a lot of times within your factory walls, a lot of people don't understand that they do have internal customers, and it's a learning exercise you need to go through. Suppliers can only meet the customer expectation when they are well defined. So going back and defining really what you expect out of your supply chain is a key element on starting your lean journey. We seek improvement from the supply chain to production to the customer. We want to create a culture of continuous improvement. And we really want to understand, as you start this continuing improvement, what concepts are really important: velocity, waste elimination, and time. We'll talk a little bit more about value stream mapping coming up. We spend a lot of time talking about lean in the factory, and we talk about product flow. It's also to talk about information flow. And if you're communicating with your customers, or you're communicating all the way down to your supply chain, the information flow is very critical for success. What is lean thinking? Lean thinking are derived from monumental success from the Toyota production company. It eliminates non-added value waste and a method of enabling firms to identify and attack waste in all aspects of their business. So what we're focused on here is focus on customer value, identifying the value stream, elimination obstacles to the flow on the value stream, allowing the customer to pull the value, and methods of continuous productivity improvement. The advantage of lean is that it offers a comprehensive definition of waste activities within your company or within your firm. Why, as a lean strategy? The same factory principles can apply within purchase that you're currently using within your factory walls. And you've got an old process, you've got a lean improvement, you want to get cycle time and flexibility, and at the end you want to have short cycle times and high flexibility. So what are we looking for? Faster feedback and process improvement, increased learning cycles. We want to focus on improving first pass yields, results in improved productivity. Improved process capability results in improved throughput. Uncover process deficiencies, focus on problem resolution. Less work in process, reduce the risk of having issues, and improve customer satisfaction, flexibility, and responsiveness when a customer wants to change his demand or his requirements. You know, we typically will have a bullwhip effect within a factory. I've recognized it over the years. As we reduce our cycle times, the bullwhip effect on the market and our customers become less because we become more responsive to changes within the requirement band. What is a lean value stream? I talked about it a little bit before. It's the value from the perspective of the customer. What is the customer willing to pay for, and what is the customer not willing to pay for? And it's a good exercise you go through as you start eliminating waste. You ask the question: is my customer willing to pay $1 more for this process that we've got out there? Why do we have it? Do we need it? The flow, no waiting, no rework. You know, it's interesting when the NUMMI plant went in a number of years ago out in Fremont, California, a joint venture between General Motors and Toyota. GE wanted to put in spur lines off their main production line to do rework. And Toyota said, "What are you doing? This is insane. No rework, no spurs." And it's a total different mindset. The work. Do you have standard? You know, we do standard work in the factory all the time because we have multiple shifts. But do you have standard work for repetitive tasks within your procurement department? And have you built in quality? I know we focus on building in quality every day in the factory. What are we doing to build in quality and reliability within the procurement system? This is a typical day in the life of a buyer planner. And if you take a look at the start of the day, if you have one of your team to write down when they started and when they ended these tasks, as you sit down and spend 8 hours in the day, what you'll find out is pretty amazing. How much is added value work? In this particular example, out of an 8-hour day, 1.5 hours of productive work over 6 hours of non-productive work of waste. So this is a way to do it, to start off with, to really understand how much does your workday resemble Jane's on this particular activity. I've done that for myself, and I've realized that I get sidetracked a lot when I first started off, and I really wasn't focused on trying to complete the task for the day. We all have a lot of firefighting we need to do initially when we start this journey. The key is make the firefighting the exception rather than the rule. Now, how is lean? Where do you think you are? Opportunities that we've seen as we go in and analyze sites that apply for the AME Excellence Award that are on the lean journey, we find out they're getting about 20 to 60% reduction in procurement lead times, greater than 50% improvement of resource utilization, a 10 to 50% increase in gross margins, and that's really important to the bottom line. A 30% gain in production capacity, and dramatic improvement in scheduling and productivity in regards to what's coming at you next. And here again, this is based on some other research that we've done out there, based from several industries spanning from 2011 to 12. Lean methods can be slashed in the supply chain, and we do this through value stream mapping. And really what you've got, special waste-filled value stream is error correction loops, approval cycles, task and queuing unnecessary tasks, deliverable creation, and really what we're looking for is desired outcome. And what you can do is, can you take this path and get it down to as few activities as possible? And we'll spend a lot of time in this course going through different approaches on how you can do that. I've been talking about waste. What is waste in your mind? We define it as anything other than the minimum amount of equipment, materials, parts, space, and workers' time in which is absolutely essential to add value to the product or the process. The issue with waste, it's the root issue for looking for solutions. Without waste, there is no roadmap for improvement. So the value stream mapping, understanding the 7 or 8 areas of waste is a critical part of starting your lean journey. Waste are elements of a process that add no added value from the customer perspective, and I indicated that a little bit before. Waste only adds cost and time. Waste is really a symptom rather than a root cause for the problem. Waste points out problems within the system, so as you dig down. An example is, and I remember Shingo early on, I went to a presentation he had a banana there. And I'm saying, what is he going to do with that banana? And he puts it up to his head, and he goes, waste is around you. You see it every day, but you don't realize you see it. And I'm saying, what's he going to do with this banana? And he says, look at this banana. What do you see? Well, I said, I see a banana. He said, well, you're paying for this banana. I said, yeah, we're all paying for this banana. He says, you know how much of this is that you throw away? He says, 33% of this banana is the peel, and it's waste. And we look at things like that every day and don't realize waste is in front of us until we really go back and analyze it. These are the 7 areas of waste. In Six Sigma, sometimes they talk to them about the 8 areas of waste. The first one is basically overproduction, making more than is immediately required. 2, which is waiting for parts, information, instructions, and equipment. 3, transportation, moving people, products, and information. 4, overproduction, tighter tolerances or higher grade of material than are necessary. 5, motion, bending, turning, reaching, lifting. Well, I guess I got that a little bit out of order. Really, inventory is next. Sorting, pieces, documentation ahead of the requirements. And then 7, which are defects, rework, scrap, incorrection, documentation. Under Six Sigma, if you're a Six Sigma fan, they talk a little about the 8th area of waste, which is skills, underutilization of capabilities, inadequate training, dealing with the team itself. So let's go back and talk about some of the waste categories. We have process waste. We've got serial actions, correction loops, unnecessary steps, undefined paths, undefined roles within your team. We have cycle time waste, which is unnecessary delays within the process, excessive approval cycles, low-value meetings. What we've done is right now here is we've required everybody, if we're going to have a standard meeting, we need to have an agenda. If we have a status meeting, we make it a stand-up meeting. If everybody has to stand up instead of sit down, you kind of really focus on the end result a lot quicker. A lack of information, slow transactions in regards to getting the information you need on a timely basis. Waste elimination, missing target cost, design errors, poor productivity, point designs, resource waste, multitasking, lack of prioritization, misaligned goals or incentives, unnecessary tasks, a lot of firefighting and expediting. And I guess you need to ask yourself, how many of these are in your business? And have you addressed them? What are you going to do about going forward? And we'll talk a lot about these in a lot more detail in the 2-day course. We talk about added value or value stream mapping. When you do this exercise, you'll go down and look at the time you take the order until you deliver the product, or you can start from the time you quote the order until you receive the PO, until you ship the order. So you actually put down your calendar time, the actual duration of the task from the time to start to finish. And that's the green line you'll see here. And then you'll go back and take a look at the work time, the shortest time currently possible to do the task. So you've got to go back and define how long does it really take to do the task. And then you got to go back, and that also assumes that some of the tasks you may be doing may not be added value. So then you go back and look at the value added time, which is the time amount of work that is actually added value, and the rest is waste. So if you take a look at it, there's very little added value time at the beginning, and there's a lot of waste. We do value stream maps. We've defined the value streams that we've got here early on. It was part of our lean journey right off the beginning. And we go back, even for our customers. One of my biggest customers right now is Lockheed Martin Aeronautics. We've got a number of parts on the Joint Strike Fighter. And here early on, we were getting into low-rate production in that program. Their goal was to get their supply base to actually define their value streams for them. And we've got two. One is sheet metal parts, and the other one is machine metal parts. So we actually came up, in that particular case, with two value streams. And we were looking from the time we got the order until we delivered it and defined it. We did it not only for parts that are in production or parts for the first time build, where we had to get the parts through quality control on first time builds and approved. So our goal, and we update that on a regular schedule for Lockheed, is identifying where we want to go and what are we doing to reduce the cycle time. And as a result of us being successful for that, we freed up capacity, and right now we're kind of the go-to shop for spot buys because we can turn it quicker than a lot of our competition. It's a competitive advantage to us. Are you asking your supply chain to define their cycle times? Have you asked them to do value stream mapping? Has your customer asked you to do value stream mapping? And if you're doing value stream mapping, if you've got major accounts, you may want to use it as a competitive advantage to talk to them about what you're doing to lean out your process to become a better supplier. The other thing is, how do you measure yourself? What are some of the metrics in a lean supply chain? These are some examples that we'll talk about in the course. Consistency of deliveries, on-time arrival of the material. Are you measuring your supply chain against your PO and your need date? Predictable order times. Prompt shipping of finished goods. Are you looking at the productivity of employees, tasks compared to employee hours, transition completed per week, revenue generated for employees? They're just some examples we'll spend a fair amount of time talking about in the two-day program. We'll spend a lot of time also talking about process cycle time, the time from the order to the ship, the time from the call to the response, the time the arrival to the stock. And one of the things that we measure here is really response time on requests for quotes. The length of the queue, the lead time for the shipments, waiting time for the resources to apply to that requirement, delays in processing purchase orders. And we'll talk about how you can better utilize the resources you have in your procurement team and how you can level load requirements and of that department going forward. We'll give you a bunch of suggestions. How do we define lean in the supply chain? I know we've always defined it as part of the Toyota production system as the operational portion or the factory portion of lean. Lean supply chain provides information or material needed for lean production in most efficient, waste-free manner as possible. The course that we run focuses on elimination of waste time through the application of productivity enhanced methods. The benefits we've seen that people have applied that principles within their businesses is a reduction in procurement cycle time, elimination of not added value activities, enhanced value creation for the team focus, reduction of non-recurring and indirect costs, improved utilization of human resources, and maximize strategy on related product lines. And part of this exercise that we do in this course is we have a number of hands-on exercises for the team members. We'll break people out into teams, and hopefully each team will bring home a project that they can apply when they get back into their own business. So we try to make it very hands-on, focused to grouping people that have a similar issues that they can come up with a common solution. Elements of lean purchasing that we talk about, and some of these have been covered already, but how are you collapsing your cycle times? What's the speed of replacing your inventories? What are the direct links to your top suppliers, and how are you communicating? Is the appropriate quality, appropriate quality is given? Are you inspecting your product when it comes in the door, or do you have a supplier certification process? So when they come in, they can go directly to the floor. They don't have to go through incoming inspection. Direct user or provider interfaces. How are you communicating what your requirements are? I'll give you an example. We have a number of customers that actually have got us set up on a supplier managed inventory process. We've sat down with them, or they've sat down with us, and vice versa, where we've defined a maximum requirement, and we actually, through a customer portal, will come up and actually look at their demand, and it will run out anywhere from one customer for 12 months, another customer for 18 months. So we have a pretty good idea what their requirement is on their horizon. The deeper you go into your supply chain, the better it is. So are you going to your first tier, your second tier? Do you really understand what your first tier suppliers, second tier, third tier suppliers are, and what's the long pole in the tent, or what's really going to get you if you really have to ramp your requirements within your facility? We'll also cover, do you have sole source or single source suppliers? What does a good supplier look like? We'll define that and how you create a supplier scorecard. Has that supplier minimized cycle times, makes the demand versus forecast? The quality is appropriate. We're looking for a CPK of between 2 and 4. Owns logistics and transportation and point of use deliveries where possible. Does your suppliers, or do you assist in the design of components and products? Are you giving inputs to your customers, or are you giving inputs to your suppliers? Do you know your business, your customers? Do you know your suppliers? Do you know why they are profitable? Not only your suppliers, but also your customers. Is the technology a leader in the field? Is your technology a leader in the field? Are your suppliers' technology a leader in the field? Prices are based on superior products. I mean, you don't always buy to the cheapest bid. When we go back through and we look at really added value, if you have issues with quality, if you have issues with delivery, if you can find it cheaper in Asia, but it's sitting on the water for 8 weeks before you get it, you're paying for it one way or the other. Sometimes it's better just to pay for superior products than just price. Turnover. Does your suppliers have less than 5% turnover a year or more? And that's a red flag in itself in regards to it can impact you. Purchasing tools that will go into more details. And the question you got to ask yourself, how many of these are you doing in your business? Have you defined the dollar value of lead times? The quality definition and tools that you're required, not only in your shop, but in your suppliers. Do you have a good knowledge of contracts? Are you using business-to-business links? Are you doing Kaizens internally? Are your customers doing Kaizens with you? Are you doing Kaizens with some of your key suppliers? How are you doing on relationship building skills? One of the things that we find out very successful is when we have major accounts, we actually assign a program manager to it and really improve the communication skills. Process, have you really tried to synchronize your processes with other internal functions within your organization? The ability and resources to train others. Do you have a cross-training matrix? We're a small business, and I look back even when I had large groups of people reporting into me back in my Harris days. I probably had pretty close to 5,000 or 6,000 people in my group. We always did a great job in doing training matrices for the factory to make sure they were skilled. One of the things we realized here when we got into this journey that a lot of times in our white collar area we were only one deep because we only had one person doing that thing, and we really weren't cross training. Right now we have a cross training matrix for everybody in the organization, including myself. If you haven't done it for your white collar area, you really need to think about it. Internal systems at work. Do you have lean production? What's your forecasting system? Do you have an ERP or MRP system? And is it workable? Or are you working around it with Excel spreadsheets? What is lean? I'm kind of wrapping things up right now. This is kind of a takeaway at the end. There are 5 process steps to maximize customer value and minimize waste. The first thing you need to start off with is identify the value, your value stream mapping. So you identify the value, what the value is. Number 2, create the value stream. Then you got to define the flow. Then how are you going to pull that flow, and how are you going to seek perfection? Here again, I've often got asked because the Raytheons, the Lockheeds, all have True North and really their vision for their lean journey. And how do you get there? You know, you got to go back and identify what your current state is. You've got to expose the problems in your current state. You got to solve the problems, and you've got to improve the state. How do you do it? There are many tools in the toolbox, but it's all a continuous improvement and learning cycle that you need to define within your business walls. Some of the tools that you can take advantage of. AME last year came out with a Lean Cincy app. You can get up on the AME website. And what we have found out that if people that have applied the AME excellent model to their business, they're seeing between a 15 and 20% reduction in productivity, 50% reduction in defects, and a 4 to 8% increase in gross margins. What this app is to ask you a bunch of questions. You can download it; it's free, and you can go ahead and get it to your team and have everybody fill it out and see where they rate themselves on their lean journey based on a number of questions. Right now, it's basically only a standalone app. We are working right now to be able to group those things and then average the scores. But here again, the key is here, it helps you evaluate your operations today. It also helps you understand how to rank and benchmark where you are against industry standards and develop an implementation plan in the future. So here again, we've got 1 through 6 results that you come out of the app, and it's a great tool. If you haven't taken advantage of it, look at it, please do. And here again, it's through the AME App Store with the Lean Cincy. How do I learn more? We do have the upcoming workshop coming up here in San Antonio. It's July the 18th and 19th. If you get up on the AME website under Southwest, under courses and workshops, you'll find it. Or you can take this, and I'll key back to this thing, or when you get this presentation, that is a direct connection to that to sign up for that program coming up. My number and email address was up on the front cover of this presentation to start off with. If you have any questions at all, feel free to either email me or go ahead and give me a call. I'd love to talk to you. Okay, Jerry, anybody have any questions?
Great. Okay, and thank you, Doug. And as Doug mentioned, we'll review any questions. So if you do have any questions, please submit them on the right side of your screen. And here's one. Where or how should we start our lean office journey?
I think I covered it a little bit in this presentation. I think the key is you need to define your value streams, and not only in the factory, but also in the office, and make sure that they connect. But the first step that anybody really needs to do is understand their value streams.
Okay, great. Next question is, what lean tools will be covered in the workshop?
The lean tools was in that quite a few. If you take a look at that that circle that was in the presentation, those are the tools that we actually will be covering in the workshop. So if you want to pull back to that chart, which was chart number 8 in the presentation, and I'll get back to there real quick. If you look at the tools and methods in the center of this, these are the tools that we will be covering in that workshop. Thank you for whoever asked that question. That's a great question.
Great. Will the workshop go into more detail on the 7 areas of waste?
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's a major portion when you're dealing with the white-collar areas. We'll go into a lot more. We'll have a number of exercises that go through. We'll highlight and have you actually go back and think about the waste in your process of issuing purchase orders or even introducing new designs. So we'll cover quite a few things. And this whole program is set up with hands-on exercises, and we've got, I think, 3 great videos that really cover it. One of them really deals with the Dell production system and really how they developed their pull system early on to make Dell very successful, Dell computer.
Okay. On waste, what is the worst of the 7 forms of waste, in your opinion?
They're all bad. Yeah. I mean, if you really take a look at overproduction is very, very bad. Inventory, what's your inventory turns? Are you getting 1 inventory turns a year, or are you getting 52 inventory turns a year? Are you turning your inventory once a week? I mean, we'll talk about all about that, the same thing. But they're all bad. But what we'll talk about, some of these things are low-hanging fruit that really can go to the bottom line of the business. Inventory is an example. And if you really focus on reducing inventory, or if you look at pulling the inventory instead of pushing the inventory, you get 2 things. You free up cash because you have less inventory, and 2, you probably free up floor space in your factory. And some of that also can basically identify how you can better utilize your resources within your office space. So, and also, if you can get rid of the non-added value time, maybe you can get the same task and grow the business with the same amount of people.
Okay, great. Thanks. Next question is, are there sample value stream templates available to use to attempt to put one together?
If you Google it, you can probably get it up online. If the best, there's two ways out there. You can go to the Lean Enterprise Institute, and John Shook's got a book out on it that's very, very good. And now that's one way to do it. If you get up online, there are a number of templates. As a matter of fact, if you take this course, we've got some templates that we use as part of the exercise. But and you can actually get software to do these templates that are available on the market. I just Google it; they're out there. If you can't find it, just go ahead and send me an email, and I'll point you in the right direction.
Okay, great. Thanks. Will the workshop cover supplier performance systems?
It sure does. We'll talk about supplier rating systems, and we'll talk about supplier certification systems or processes, and that will be covered in the 2-day workshop.
Okay. And looks like one more question. Will the workshop help us to prepare to apply for the AME Excellence Award?
It most certainly will, and so that's one of the categories on the AME application, really your supply chain. So if you're interested in applying, or you plan on applying, that's one of the categories that you need to score in, and this workshop will help you prepare to improve that score in that category.
Okay, great. Well, thank you everyone for all your questions, and thank you, Doug, for a very informative presentation. As Doug mentioned, there will be a more in-depth 2-day workshop on managing a lean, efficient supply chain in San Antonio, Texas on Tuesday, July 18th and Wednesday, July 19th. Our next scheduled webinar will be on Thursday, June 15th, titled People-Centric Leadership Overview with Lisa Weiss. Please visit AME.org under the AME Events and Training tab for more information on both events and to register. Please don't forget to fill out the short survey that will be in your inbox. Thank you everyone for attending and have a productive day.